All right. I now called to order the meeting of the Economic Development, Tourism, and Events Commission to order at 5:00, we'll call it 5:03. Will the clerk please take roll call?
Commissioner Warner.
Here.
Commissioner Case.
Here.
Commissioner Lesmeister.
Here.
Commissioner Peck.
Here.
Commissioner Lean.
Here.
And Commissioner Allen.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Did anyone submit a public comment in advance?
No, ma'am.
All right. If anyone in actual or virtual attendance would like to speak, please raise your hand now. *9 is used to raise your hand if you are connected by phone. All right, moving on. We will now move on to the consent agenda consisting of the minutes from last meeting. Are there any items that anyone would like to remove from the consent agenda? All right. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I motion to approve the consent agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the consent agenda is approved. Moving on to our presentations. Do we have an update on the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy? Mr. Saldana?
Yes, good evening. You guys can hear me okay? Great. So we are at our 70% mark in terms of this strategy. We're actually, once Ben does his presentation and now with that final report, we'll actually be able to incorporate that into the final strategy. So we're looking forward to wrapping this all up in the next couple of days and then getting the draft for review. But we're very pleased with the results so far, and certainly the alignment that we'll see, that you'll all see with the planning study that the engineers have done for Martinfield. So that's really our update. Nothing more than that. We will be sending the draft to staff for internal review, and then our hope is for a review and recommendation from the commission at your next meeting, and then off to the city council. Any questions?
Anybody have any questions? All right. Thank you so much. We look forward to that.
Thank you.
Next we have Mr. Hoppy.
Yes, I'm ready. So this is what we're looking at is the final report, and then I sent a PowerPoint as well that kind of summarizes a lot of this. Do we have that available? Or I can share my screen.
It'd be best if you could share your screen. I don't have it right now.
Okay. I mean, as much as I'd love to read you, 232 pages of this report word for word, tried to simplify things a little bit in the PowerPoint. So let's see if we can do that. See. Okay, everybody see that okay? Well, let's see. Now, hopefully everybody can see that okay.
Yep.
Okay, so yes, good evening, and thank you again for having me one last time here for presentation on our findings for the Martin Airfield study. You've heard from me a few times. we have wrapped things up, delivered a final report, and so I'm going to present an outline of what we did, what we found, some of the key points, and maybe highlight some of the next steps and recommendations that we have to follow up on. Let's see. So again, just a reminder of the project location. This is our study area on the west side of town. You've seen this before. Just wanted to reiterate that our study area changed a little bit, and that little triangle to the northwest that is white is a portion that we added in exchange for some residential that we didn't want to study as part of this for the industrial purposes. And so that just wanted to point out is in addition to the study that is outside of the city limits and outside of the urban growth area. So this just zooms in on that kind of tan brown triangle is the one in question there. The advantage of swapping that out, and this is the one portion that's across from Whitman Drive there, is that fronts directly the railroad tracks. So we added some commentary in the report about the advantage of doing that. Obviously, there'd be some work to do as far as getting that in the UGA and getting utilities out there and so forth, and going through that process. But that we thought was a good swap, as suggested by the city and the developer, in lieu of this other area that was these southeast portions that are planned and zoned for residential. So just an overview and a reminder of the scope that we did and the steps we took to get here. Started with a kickoff meeting about a year ago now with city developer representatives, and talked through what we wanted to achieve here, what the high points were. And so that consisted of an economic feasibility study, which you heard some findings on a couple months ago, an analysis of the site, essentially what you have for infrastructure today, and the infrastructure analysis, meaning what we think you need to promote industrial development out there, all culminated in a final plan, which again we delivered last week. Had some comments back and forth from the city and developer, which we updated and finalized last week. So just some key points that I wanted to bring up in our findings, and I'll get into these a little bit later in the slides to get into the detail here, but high level. So we started with a 240-acre area that we wanted to evaluate how much of it is truly feasible for industrial development. And by the time we got to the end of this, we ended up with 64.5 acres for various reasons. I'll get into that on the next slide here. But about just a fraction of this really is suitable for industrial development. Our concept layout, which I'll also show, showed 29 industrial lots. That's very much a guess at this point. Those are lots that are broken up depending on the use that we expect to see out there, certain acreages, but very oftentimes, a bigger or smaller user comes in and wants some sort of different shaped lot. So this concept just gives us an idea of what kind of infrastructure we'd want to put in place so you can set things up for budgeting and funding purposes. As far as infrastructure recommendations, the three big ones that we studied were traffic, sewer, water, and then dry utilities. And so the first of which, traffic operations, the highlight there is that by and large, your system is suitable for capacity for any trucks or industrial users that we see that would be added onto the existing roadways. That's a little bit different from condition of roadway, and I'll get into that later. But for the most part, you've got an adequate number of lanes, turning movements, and so forth that can handle the traffic that we would expect to generate. The bigger costs come from sewer and water improvements, and again, I'll get into those details, what that entails. But there's essentially nothing out there now, so we'd have to extend services into the developable area. And then same thing with dry utilities. That can vary a little bit depending on what type of user gets brought in, but usually that's a minimum of electrical, and then sometimes users want to see things like gas or fiber depending on their needs. So those are the highlights. And just to dive into that a little bit deeper, you've seen some of this before, but just to kind of reiterate why we went from this 240 overall acre area to that 64 that I mentioned. Peeling off this yellow portion that's zoned residential. There's a creek in red here that's got some setbacks. The blue is planned airport developments. The airport itself, obviously, the airstrip and some zones around there in which you cannot build, leaves these green areas that equate to that 64 acres. So, good land, good pieces of land, but as I mentioned, just a fraction of that 240 acres. So this is the conceptual lot layout. Again, these 29 lots are one scenario of what we see playing out, but it very often changes as development occurs. So these lot sizes vary anywhere from that, as you see in the table there, that ½ acre to 5 acres, depending on the use. We spaced these out to what we thought was reasonable, getting them access off of Whitman and Hampton and so forth. But those can change. Each one has an access point. As far as obviously we've got a unique development area, and there's an airport here, and so I just wanted to touch on a little bit of what we did for the airport airspace surface evaluation. And so this is essentially a contour map. These airports have imaginary surfaces that you cannot penetrate as aircraft take off and land, and so this is intended to show kind of this virtual surface that buildings could be restricted to. And I don't see, a lot of restrictions here. It's tough to see on this slide, but there are 35-foot building restriction lines along these contours on either side, and buildings could increase in height as you go away from the airfield. So, you might have 40, 45, 50 feet. And generally just really up close to the airport itself, the airstrip is where you'd be restricted in height, and just want to be cognizant of that as development occurs. Let developers know what their limitations might be. And then another part of the airport consideration is airport overlay zones. Now, Martin Field does not currently have an airport overlay zone, and this is something that's optional for a city or any jurisdiction that either owns or has land surrounding an airport. Purpose of an airport overlay zone is to protect your airport asset from development which would hinder takeoffs or landings. So it makes sure that you can't build all these different zones that you see. For instance, in zone 1 or 2, where aircraft would be taking off, to right over those areas, you might be restricted from building things like hospitals, schools, things with a lot of foot traffic. Whereas in that zone 6 or the outskirts, you might be able to use those things. So just wanted to make folks aware of the airport overlay zones. This is something that, again, you don't have in place right now. It's not necessarily a requirement, but it is something we would recommend the city look to in the future, is establishing these and working with the county to do so. So I mentioned traffic and some infrastructure analysis. I just wanted to remind everybody that the intersections that we evaluated, so all these lettered and numbered circles that you see here on Whitman Drive mostly, and then up to Last Chance, are intersections for which we got traffic counts for existing conditions. So what we do is we figure out how much traffic have you got in those locations today, and then we project out 20 years to what we call the build scenario, what would be the full development scenario in 2045. What do those look like if this area is fully developed under the conditions that we expect? And as I mentioned, the takeaway was really you don't need any significant traffic improvements. You've got adequate numbers of lanes. Sometimes it's turn lanes and things that we see, or signalized intersections, but what you have is sufficient. And even this signalized intersection that gets a lot more traffic, that's at Whitman and College Ave, it's suitable in year 2045. One thing I wanted to mention too, on some of these roads, Last Chance, for instance, we didn't evaluate the condition of how much pavement you have as far as depths, strength of pavement and the roadway prism and so forth. So depending on traffic that's generated, that might be an evaluation you want to do in the future. Is, do you have just an inch or two of pavement and is it susceptible to cracking or rutting with larger truck counts? That's not something we evaluated. but it's something in the future, again, might want to consider. We evaluate the capacity, lanes, and so forth, and those are what's suitable. So sewer improvements, again, this is a good chunk of the cost. I'll share the cost for all these at the end too, but in general, I mean, you need to bring sewer to the site. There is a proposed lift station in this area here at the southwest corner of the site, and a force main that would need to take things south. So there's some significant sewer line improvements there that would be added, similar to water. And this is the water system that you'd see. Again, just kind of a looped system is what we propose through those lots, connecting into your existing system in this new reservoir number 4 here. So before everybody just scrolls down to the scary, big dollar cost, I want to remind folks of a few things. Number one, this is a full build out, usually conservative estimate of what it would take to do everything in this area. We know that it very seldom happens that way. Normally this development takes time over several years. There are a number of grant opportunities to fund some or maybe all of these things. And then, this is current year dollars, but these are things that many of these costs could be passed on to a developer or somebody else if the city chooses. So for example, you might require new developer to build their own road, extend their own sewer, perhaps. Those are decisions that the city can make, but just want to point that out as we see this big scary $24 million number. The internal roadway network makes up about $4 million of that. So that is the interior roads that do not exist today. Again, those are really the only road improvements that we're seeing that you need to make right now. There's some earthwork costs, about $500,000 to grade out, flatten some of the site. Again, the big ones here, sanitary sewer and potable water, amount to about $7 million and $9 million respectively. So that's the biggest slice of the pie there. Some stormwater improvements, about $800,000 there, and then dry utilities, estimating about $2 million. So with all those improvements and what we're suggesting in the final report, what are the next steps? I mentioned this airport overlay zone. We've got some narrative in the report about what that might look like, how you establish that, and the next steps to possibly get that codified. The evaluation of the existing road conditions. Again, some of those roads, while suitable from a width and lane perspective, might need some facelifts or rebuilds or repaving, and it would probably be a good idea to evaluate those further. And then just pursuit of these water and sewer improvements. Again, it's the city's prerogative what they want to put in here. Obviously, you make the site a little bit more developable if you start putting in infrastructure that becomes a little bit more appealing to developers. Or you can leave this as vacant land and wait for the development to come and put some of that onto the developers as well. And then funding, as we mentioned, that big dollar amount, we outline a lot of different funding programs in the final report. These are, things like CURB and TIF and a lot of money that the city can go and pursue either through grants or loans that would facilitate getting some of this infrastructure off the ground. So that's something that obviously we recommend going out and trying to find some money to do some of these things if the city chooses. That is a pretty quick rundown of everything I've got, and again, got the full report in front of me, and happy to answer any questions that folks might have. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for your work that you've done on this. And do we have any questions?
This is Doug. Is there a availability of your slide deck?
Was the question is the slide deck available?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I could send it out, or the city if you want to distribute this. I have no problem doing that.
We can email them, distribute it after fact.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seems pretty comprehensive. I'm really glad that you did the slideshow and didn't go through all those pages.
I didn't want to put you to sleep.
Thank you so much. So, if there's no other questions, we'll move on. Thank you so much. All right, from what I see, there's no action agenda tonight, correct? Because sometimes I don't see it. So we'll go on to the staff reports, development activity, Mr. Rizzatello.
Yeah, I mean, the big things that are going on right now is Mill Creek homes over in the villages, the Garrison Creek. They're starting to pull permits and such, so that's good to see some additional single family housing come online. The Tad Sermon development with the apartment complexes. John Denny saying a couple weeks they're going to pull C of O maybe N2 or.
Yeah, 2 of the 5 buildings are almost ready for occupancy, so they'll come online soon.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, a lot of moving pieces on all that. And then with the Lakeside development, waiting for the last couple of reports from developer and move forward on that. With Martin Airfield area, big thing with this whole plan was that we're going to give this to the developer Tarragon to essentially peruse and then work on that with them. So we've definitely been forwarding it to them for the review, so that'll be helpful as they pursue working on putting additional investment adjacent to the airfield in the subsequent years. So and then
Did they, excuse me,
yeah.
Are they interested in that? Have they shown interest in additional development on their end?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so pretty much the additional development that they've been discussing over time has been airplane hangars adjacent to the runway, and then some light industrial along Whitman Drive is where it stays outside of the landing zone of the planes, and then residential to the south. So that whole area that was marked off as a different color, they basically want to do like single family residential like south of the airfield area in the creek. So yeah, that's the key stuff. And then next May will be the retail hotel and restaurant convention in Vegas. So we'll get a lot of new leads from attending that. So
Thank you. Any questions there? All right, moving on, community events update.
Thank you very much. All right, I got some cool graphics for all of us. First event we have is Block Party. It's going to be May 18th from 1 to 6. We block off the same 4 blocks as last year from 4th Street to Whitman. It's going to be vendors of all kinds, food, municipal, nonprofits, family fun, and we have a billboard going up like on the way in from Milton to advertise for the block party. Next, we have our Market in the Park, which will be starting May 29th from 4 to 7 at the newly renovated Lions Park. I believe on that same day, we're having trout put in the pond there, so people can fish and have fun doing that, which is cool. We're also working with Hop Thief to have a beer and wine garden this year. They're pretty amped about that. So yeah, that'll be a nice addition, I think. Movies at the park. That'll be every 3rd Saturday at sundown starting June 21st. It'll be at Lions Park. Just bring your own chairs, blankets, and snacks, and yeah, just come hang out. We'll have Burn Goalie on June 21st. July 12th, we have Top Gun Maverick. August 2nd, we have Wicked. August 23rd is going to be E.T., and September 13th is going to be Coco. So sundown's pretty late in summer, but I'll be there, so it'll be fun.
It's earlier than the drive-in.
There you go. That's good advertisement. Freedom Fest. Oh, new graphic. Freedom Festival is going to be June 29th from 6 to 10. It's going to be at College Place High School. Food vendors, live music. The Kids Zone's going to be there again. And we're going to have lots of fireworks. And Columbia REA is sponsoring and paying for most of the fireworks, which is pretty cool. And also a billboard will be going up for that event as well a month ahead of time. Artful Celebration is something we're working on in tandem with Walla Walla and Carnegie Picture Labs, which are both nonprofits. We're doing this to kind of like highlight the artistic expression and options for outlet in the Walla area, which is College Place and Walla Walla. So there's going to be youth and adult art displays. There's gonna be a stage there for theater demonstrations, and yeah, just artistic vendors. Trying to do a beer and wine garden for that one as well. We are the date on this is inaccurate. We're pushing it out really far to October 11th, just because communication wasn't super tight from all parties. I think people didn't want to make it happen super quick, so we're pushing out a bit. Trunk or Treat, October 31st from 3 to 6. It's going to be here in all the municipal buildings. This is far enough in the future. I haven't really looked much into it. I don't have a ton of details, but it's going to be a lot of fun. Winterfest, it's going to be, I believe it's on College Avenue. And we get to meet Santa, have a tree lighting ceremony, decorate gingerbread houses, have holiday drinks, and do the lighted parade. This is another one I'm going to be diving into a lot once we get a little bit more towards the end of summer. And then the last things we're going to show you is Mary Elizabeth ordered a lot of banners, new banners for us. So College Avenue is going to be looking real good. Freedom Festival, Trunk or Treat. Oh man, they don't stop. And also another thing we were working on, this week pretty heavily was updating the website. So the events area of the website, barring Winterfest in December, should be all 2025 info. So yeah, I think that concludes my events update.
Thank you. Any questions? I like the new banner idea. It'll be good.
Thanks.
And with that, do we have any other questions, concerns? All right. With that, is there a motion? Our next meeting is going to be May 5th, 2025. Is there a motion to conclude the meeting?
I make a motion to conclude the meeting.
And do I have a second?
Second, Doug.
All right, the meeting is concluded at 5:30. Thank you all for being here.